what are computers going to be like 10 years from now?
Everything that we know and we've experienced about technology is all in its infancy stage. Man. You know, we are the millennial generation. We're the first generation to grow up with technology in the household. So when you ask what the next level is, it's definitely a lot of artificial intelligence. Machine learning is a concept.
What's that?
Machine learning, it's not only artificial intelligence, but you programming the intelligence to get better.
Programming the intelligence to get better.
Mm-hmm. As you keep liking, they're learning about you. And now they're going to take what they learn and say, you know, send him this reel of this guy fishing, or send him this golf clip or whatever. Right. That's why, you know, we got to be conscious of all that we consume, because it's going to hook on to you and latch on to you, and it's going to keep it in your face all the time. That's how they make their money, is selling your data. The federal government does that. They'll go right to Facebook the way all these other companies do, and they'll say, you know, this is what we want to know. And based upon the regulations that are in place, this is what they'll provide us.
Fully Connected. Yeah. Welcome back to the Fully Connected podcast, your go-to destination for inspirational conversations to help you become your greatest version. I am your host, Chris Jones, licensed therapist and owner of Fully Connected Counseling. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have an IT professional in the building, all right? For everybody out there with their smartphones, computers, he's a project manager for Coalfire, right? And this is a company that pretty much protects digital assets from big companies like Apple, Microsoft, Walmart, so many companies that so many of us use today. And I really wanted to have him on the show today just because with the rise of technology and the age that we're in, cybersecurity, all this stuff is so important for us, you know, because we have our credit cards and debit cards connected to these companies, and we want to be able to get educated on what to do if something were to happen. So without further ado, we got Mr. Josh Enlow in the building. How's it going, man?
Doing well. Good afternoon, sir. Appreciate you for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. And once again, Josh, he's actually the CEO of Protech, right? Protech Wichita. ProtechWichita.com. If anytime you have any computer issues, this is the guy you want to go to. All right. So if you could tell everybody about your company and why did you start the company back in 2015?
Absolutely. Well, Protech, again, we provide tech support and IT services to businesses and individuals here locally and throughout remote locations. If they don't have full-time IT staff, or maybe they have just a short staff and they need a little help, we help them out. The way I got into business was actually being laid off from working at a tech company.
Man, see, same here, bro.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, the same things that I was doing every day for someone else, I really had to see the business of how things worked. And, you know, I figured I'd empower myself in that situation.
Hey, man, there we go. The same thing for here. So you got laid off. Was that when you were at the Air Force?
That was actually my first job coming out of the military, okay. My first non-military job.
Yeah, because when people say, like, you know, when they hear like Air Force, like you were doing IT for the Air Force, that sounds pretty like top notch. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they hype it up a lot for sure. They hype it up a lot for sure. But, you know, you get access to equipment that the average Joe wouldn't be able to afford. You know, play with all that military stuff that they spend their money on and throw money at year after year.
What kind of equipment are we talking about? Like military grade computer tech?
Well, I think you speak more so of how broad the reach is. So it might be a simple function, but if it's a function being provided to the 50 nifty United States, that's a much bigger setup than, you know, something that we could create in our home, like a home lab or something like that, or even working at a local company. So I think it's just the scale of the military.
Right. Exactly.
So it was a great opportunity.
Definitely. And there's so many more black people getting into tech. You know, I heard like a term Afro tech.
Absolutely.
It sounds like a genre, like Afro beats or something, like.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a whole different like wave. It seems like more black people are, you know, in tech. You know, like I was telling you before, like the guy who made my website from scratch is a black brother. So yeah, man, like it's just really interesting, man, because if I didn't do this field, I feel like I would have got into like computer science, you know. And if you could tell everybody, like, what is it like? What do you do on like a day-to-day basis? You know, like, because I know you have your own company,
Mm-hmm.
but then you work for a company you do remote work, I'm assuming, right?
Absolutely.
So how does this work? Like, what does a typical Monday look like for Josh?
Well,
Because Cassandra, when I saw the gathering, she was like, I don't know what Josh does. She
always says that. She always said, but it's always because I've been in IT.
Yeah.
13, 14 years, and each job I've had to learn something new. So, what I'm doing changes. As you know, technology is always changing. So I might be working in just a whole different corner of IT or something in a particular job. But as it relates to what I do now, like as you mentioned, I'm a project manager for a company that does cybersecurity audits.
Yeah.
There's HIPAA, there's high trust, there's PCI for banking. There's all these federal regulations that govern how, if you're going to be dealing with healthcare data, you have to have this type of environment. So I manage a variety of projects for companies that are looking to get those audits and assessments done.
Because they have to, it's like required, these companies have to have that information, or like the cybersecurity, right?
Absolutely. And it's something that that occurs annually. So, a typical Monday is, I'm just planning my week.
Okay.
One of the great things about Coalfire is they really push flexibility. Like they understand that you work from home, and they say, hey, use it to your advantage, work when you can. So, I spend my Mondays planning my week. I see when I can have time to make it out to the golf course.
Okay. You're out there on the golf course.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You might have to teach me something, man. I suck at golf.
Hey, man, once you start liking them golf videos, man, they'll start putting them all on your timeline.
Hey, that's good for networking.
Absolutely.
Because, like, you might see, like, not saying all elderly folks golf, but I mean, with that age demographic, they may not know how to use a computer.
Absolutely.
And now here you come, you're like, oh yeah, like
absolutely. A lot of business opportunities on the golf course.
Man,
being in the right place in the right time with the right conversation, man, anything can happen.
What's his name from ATL?
Esquire.
There we go. I've got called that name so many times, man. I know you probably did too. Like, oh, look, go Esquire.
Yeah.
It's crazy because when I first knew about you, like, I remember somebody was like, bro, like, I ran into your cousin. I'm like, who's my cousin, bro? So like, somebody thought we were related. So they see a black guy with glasses, they automatically either say Urkel or they think you're related to him. That's
yeah. And I spent 4 years in Mays school districts coming up here in Wichita.
Mays South or Mays High?
Mays Middle School before it became Mays South, and then went to Mays High. Wow. Then I went to Northwest, and then I graduated from Southeast.
Was that intentional? Did mom want to bring you out there, or was it you guys just stayed over there?
Yeah, we got uprooted a little bit, but it was for the good. And looking back, I have siblings, of course. It was for the good, the greater good.
Absolutely, because some of these schools be, but speaking in high school, you have the STEM program. You're working with, and this is another reason I wanted to connect, because I'm working with those kids like in therapy, and they're like, man, I don't know what I want to do after high school. And so like I feel like that's a good little plug into like something like you maybe have your business card somewhere around. I can give them to them. Like it would be really cool, because what exactly are you doing with the youth, and what are you trying to help them with exactly?
Well, I'm always been a major STEM advocate. That's based upon who we are as a people. You mentioned there's not a lot of black people in tech. So it's important that we don't miss this wave of wealth that's being generated off tech.
Yeah.
So that makes me advocate. In the past, I've done some STEM programming, just introducing kids to the different career paths. That was pre-COVID. I was really, everything I do is based upon my ability. The way I can expand is to really get some more talent around me to help me make things bigger. But once COVID hit, of course, everything shut down, and I still, I might do a science day at a middle school or something like that. But as of right now, I just kind of advocate and try to encourage kids and educate on those opportunities.
So you can say talent. It sounds like you're trying to hire some people. Maybe even hire some of these kids you work with.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's my my whole vision is to have that. A pipeline of kids that can receive this education, get exposed to these opportunities. Right. Because if you look at the demographics of who's taking advantage of all these technologies and things like that, it's not on our end. That's where you get that big push from. So there's definitely opportunities to hire all over the place.
So much, man. And then like, what would you say? Like, let's say there's like a young kid, man. He's 17. And he's interested in this field that you're in. Like, what would you tell him? How should he go about, like, you know, major, because like you majored in business but you're still able to do IT. So like, what would you tell somebody who's a senior in high school, maybe even at Mays, and they're trying to go off to college, or they don't even know if they want to go, but they're interested in tech?
You know, definitely, you know, I would love to connect with anyone. If there's anyone that would be watching this or something like that would want to connect, but finding someone who works in the field that can just help educate on those different opportunities in the career fields. And then, you know, really adopting that continuous learner mentality, because above all things, that's what's going to make you successful. You know, you could learn something at age 17, 18, but by the time you're 20, now you got to completely relearn and retool yourself.
And that's how it is with tech, because like a computer science major in 2008, computers are completely different. 2008, like, man.
Yeah, and you know, to kind of even piggyback off of that, you know, wanting to be in tech, you don't. Of course, there's the computer science guys who they teach them the fundamentals of coding and stuff. But if you just wanted to find a really good person on YouTube that taught you how to do C# or maybe Visual Basic,
that's
or
coding,
Python,
right? That's
different
what that
coding
is.
languages. There's electronic courses, and building that skill set yourself. But you know, we live in Wichita, Kansas. That you try to say that to some of these kids,
they may not understand. And so like, even like for myself, like, because I want to learn more about it, and I think, you know, there might be somebody watching right now and they're like, what is tech? Like, I feel like there's like this umbrella, like tech is like, there's so much, you know, obviously they got like AI, then you have all this other stuff, you have like coding, you know, C# plus all these things. Like, so many people get confused. And you know, I feel like I was a coder back in the MySpace days. I had the HTML, I had the Jordan page and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, the music playing. And
I knew how to do a little something back then in MySpace time. But now, like, you don't even need, you know, for these social medias nowadays, people are not utilizing the technology for any to gain value. They're just using it to entertain themselves.
Man, I'll tell you something. One of the greatest applications of AI and things like ChatGPT is saying, hey, write me a code, write me some programming that will enable whatever it is, and it'll spit you out the code. So now most times we're on ChatGPT like, hey, plan me a vacation.
I know. See, I never even thought about it.
But that's one of the greatest applications. So now you got a program that can write a program, and it's getting there, man.
I didn't even think about using it to plan a vacation.
Oh man,
that's crazy. It's so interesting why certain people who use ChatGPT, what they use it for. You know, so it's kind of like it's a tool. So like, based on your level of knowledge, you can use ChatGPT to build a rocket ship, or you can use ChatGPT to find you a date, based on whatever, you know, where that person is at in their life. But like, what do you use ChatGPT for? Like, maybe you use it at work, or
well, you know, one of the things that, of course, there's always Google. We got Google right now, where you can ask it a basic question. But ChatGPT is for a little bit more complex of a problem. And let's say you would have a follow-up question. You know, maybe you wanted something, you know, you could say, you know, don't just plan me a vacation. Look, plan me a vacation under $2,000. I got 2 kids. We're trying to rent a car.
Dang.
So you just layer that data, and it gives you, let's say, a whole itinerary.
And it's ChatGPT 4?
Yeah. It's available. It's free.
How do we get to? Can we educate the people? Because I'm still stuck on ChatGPT 3.
I believe the actual URL or the link that you would have to go to is openai.com. But if you just Google ChatGPT, it'll take you right there. You can create an account, and you know, maybe you can, you know, just like Facebook, you can look at previous posts. You can look at previous things that you've asked it. Then you can say, hey man, I want to pick this back up. You know, revise this itinerary. I got an extra 2 bands. Rewrite a whole itinerary considering I got 4,000. So
that's crazy. That's wild, man. Should we be worried about tech, you know, in the future when we talk about AI? Like, you know, because I really do want to educate the people, and maybe you might have some insight from your background of like, should we be worried when it comes to cybersecurity, when it comes to AI? Are we just like sitting ducks, you know, if we don't know this stuff?
You know, I don't want to be what is it, Agent of Doom, or is that what they
is that what they say? Yeah, that's
I don't want to be like that, but you know, for so long we've always wanted the latest innovation, the new toy, the new iPhone, the new app, but we never stop to ask, is this secure? You know, we just go through and you know, the terms and agreements that we have to accept before we download something. It's like nobody reads that. It said right there that, hey, we're gonna be holding your data in our servers and you're consenting by using this app to letting us hold the data. So now you're trusting whoever. Now the big companies like Facebook, Google, they gonna have them government regulations in place that'll protect your data. Right. But think of all the apps that your kids download. You mentioned you have something. My son will download 50 apps and accept them terms and conditions. Giving whoever access to and it's all on my device. So Whoa. Those are the level of considerations that as a society we would have to have, which truth be told, many don't.
That's crazy. So like, can some of these apps look at us through the front camera? Or is that more like is that because that's what I know. I have I have like friends and like clients who they put like tape over the camera when they're not using it on the laptop. But like, should we really be doing that, or is it just like they're only going to tap in if they feel like you're a threat to the homeland security?
I think you said it there. If you are a major threat or you're doing something that's going to threaten somebody else,
right? I
don't think you should be surprised if whatever powers that be that have that access,
they can tap in.
And one of the major moves that moved that in was the Patriot Act. After 9/11, it was like, hey, we got to go after the people that did this to us.
Right.
And through that act, we enabled the government enabled the collection, the harvesting of data. I don't want to get too much into that, but
man, we get into it there, Josh. We get into it, man, because people are worried. People are worried about this stuff. But I know, like you say, don't want to be an agent of doom. But I think there's always some light at the end of it, because there could be good to like some of the stuff like ChatGPT, artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But it is really interesting because they can't just go in there and just look through like the camera. I mean, they could if they wanted to, but why would they do that for you? Like, you're not that special.
Right. I would say that it's not impossible. It's not impossible that could happen. Yeah. I don't think if you're using an iPhone, if you're using legitimate apps, if you're not doing anything too crazy on the internet, then it's probably not likely that's going to happen. But if maybe you got some Android, Android is a little bit different. Maybe you got some. People like to customize jailbreak stuff. You got some third-party app that maybe isn't from a reputable company, or maybe it's a company that does something cool like Uber. But does anybody ask, does Uber have all the cybersecurity regulations in place? I'm letting them know where I'm going. I'm letting and no shot. I don't want to call out Uber. I was just an example. But any company, any app that you use, we never know, if they're operating with integrity.
How can we go about this and like go through our phone to make sure that we have like secure apps? Is there like ways we can find out like which apps, or like do we need to turn off certain things within the app?
I think it's definitely a healthy exercise. If you're not using an app,
just take it out.
Just delete it. Just delete it. That way it's not even an issue. Yeah. But even then, sometimes going a step further, some apps create you accounts that maybe might have your address, might have your billing information. So to be honest, I've never gone to that level of scrutiny to call and say, hey, I'm deleting this app. I want you to completely delete my account. That would be the types of things that we would have to do just to be sure. So it's definitely a certain level of you don't want to be super stressed.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's something that as a society, it's not in our nature to kind of consider security on our devices. We just want the shiny thing.
Why is that?
That's that whole great American thing. Faster, cheaper, bigger. Everything. We want. If it's a problem with an app and you get to talking bad about the app, well, that company is their future's not bright. So they're gonna put out the latest model. We always want the latest thing. If Apple didn't come out with a new iPhone this Christmas, people are gonna be like, man, what's going on with them? People are looking for the next PlayStation. I know you're looking forward to NCAA.
Right.
So it's like people are being like, man, we've been without this game for so long, and we have it. We're ready for the next.
Man, it's been a minute too.
And no one thinks about, even when you're coding an app, you're coding an app to produce a function. Okay. Most coders, don't code primarily to be secure. So at a fundamental programming level, there could be all kinds of loopholes, and that's what a hacker, somebody who who knows these things.
The red teaming, they say, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
They get into, there's the ethical hacking, which is a legitimate career. They teach you how to hack, and you can go around and try to get into other people's networks, and they'll pay you for that. But then there are the illegitimate hackers, the countries. Think of people like North Korea, Russia, China. They actually have, state-sponsored agencies that target the United States and things like that. So,
I mean, why would? I mean, if you were, what's his name? If you were over there, like, you would use cyber attacks. That's crazy.
And, a lot of cyber attacks, it's not always, I just got into your system and I took it down immediately. No, it's like, I sat in here and I did nothing for 6 months. I just sent back data about your activity, about other information that you allowed, data. And then maybe another 6 months later, then you get hit with the attack. After
crazy.
That. So it's really a lot of reconnaissance going on. It might be someone that want to hack our networks and not take it down because that'll damage their economy or whatever. But they say, I just want to see how y'all talking about me or or whatever. Crazy.
So can you use ChatGPT 4 to do that?
No. I think they have controls in place that kind of limit your ability to do, certain things on there. Because
I had a client, he says like he's going to school for like AI training. It's like a new kind of thing. And he said something about there's like a way like you can look up your competitors, like certain companies of like business to see like how many clicks they're getting or how many visits and all that stuff. And he's like, he's pretty cool with all that stuff. He was like, he told me he could help me. And I'm just like, man, I don't even.
I mean, it's definitely, if you give it the ChatGPT the right prompt and it's something that's out there and available on the web, it can go get it for
crazy,
you. Bro. And it does, it's an artificial intelligence. My mind gets weary. Someone asks me a question that's that elaborate, that much detail, but you can upload your resume and say, hey, tell me the weak points about my resume.
That's wild.
Boom, boom, boom. And it's going to give you a suggestion. Okay, rewrite my resume, given these weak points that you mentioned, strengthen my points. And, you can use it like, I know if you're a gamer, used to play Halo.
Okay, yeah, Halo,
so Cortana,
way back.
Cortana was all artificial intelligence. So
yep. Dang, man, that's crazy. It's only a matter of time for when we can just upload our our brain, and they can say, "Hey, tell us the weak points about this," and it'd be like.
But in a way, we already do that. We already if we're thinking something, I gotta tell somebody about this, Man,
that's
or
wild.
if we're going somewhere, we're doing something, we're already kind of being conditioned to do a lot of that. So
that's crazy.
Now we got the virtual VR sets. That's a whole nother different realm where you can literally immerse yourself.
Man,
I actually think that's a great application for the elderly. People in there,
for sure.
Living out their last days on Earth. Man,
yeah.
Hook me up to a VR headset when
they should put that in a hospice. That could be like a treatment or something.
Hey, man, I mean, some people might see that and say that's a bad use, but
right. It's just we gotta be open minded with a lot of this stuff.
As long as they ain't on it all day like the Matrix, just let them. I think if it was me, now the older generation, maybe they wouldn't want that, but I was like, man, put me in a VR headset, and say, listen. I've already uploaded all my life to the internet. Go look through all my social media profiles and replay the moments about me having my firstborn son. And at that level, when I'm 70 years old, man, that virtual reality mixed with artificial intelligence is going to be able to completely produce a reality that you can, oh man, this is what it was like when I was 21 years old.
That's impressive, man.
Hey.
And then obviously it can be programmed for good, and it can be programmed for bad. And so like when you were talking about the cyber attacks, like what exactly is a cyber attack? What are they attacking? Is like they're taking money? Are they just collecting data? Or like why do they call it a cyber attack?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of different motives. Sometimes it's someone who maybe they are. They have some type of negative sentiment towards a company. I'm doing damage to you because I don't like you, or you fired me way back.
Oh, okay,
or it could be some teenager playing around on the internet. It could be someone that's trying to, live life over in Saudi Arabia on our dime. So they have a lot of different motives. They might use your information to use identity theft.
Man, that's scary stuff.
I know myself. I've had my personal debit card, hacked money coming out my account.
What?
Even me being in IT, you know, knowing all that I know. And it's like, man.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I had to completely stop banking with a particular organization, you know. Man, because they couldn't figure out where are these transactions coming from. You know, my Amazon's linked to my PayPal.
So you couldn't just get a new like debit card or credit card?
You know, they would do little small transactions that I wouldn't notice, and I'm like, okay, he's not noticing these. Let me do a $25 transaction.
They didn't know who they were messing with. They didn't know you were an IT guy.
Yeah, so I just shut them down. You know, I just shut everything down. Sometimes you gotta do that. You know,
Man.
You start messing with people's money. It's like, hey, stop everything.
So is when they set the term like red team or like red teaming or blue teaming, I think that's the term. Does that mean like red team is like a good hacker or a bad hacker? And then the blue team is like,
you know, there's definitely a certification, different certifications out there that you can get, and that kind of goes back to, you know, that what is a 17-year-old? What can they do? Mm-hmm. You can go get a certification. It's maybe not a school or curriculum, but this is a body of knowledge put together by an organization. Mm-hmm. You get your ethical. I think it's called being a red hat. Get your red hat.
Okay.
Then you can do those red team type drills and you know, definitely not my lane, but even out here at McConnell, they have what's called an information aggressor squadron, and they go around to other Air Force bases and try to do that type of ethical hacking. So for someone looking to get into that, there's that skill set right out here at McConnell,
right there in Derby. So then like the ethical hacking, that's like they use hackers to like see their weak points. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what it is?
Yep. So there might be
themselves.
There might be a week where they say, okay, let's, you know, it's up. We've given you authorization to do this, and then they come back and give a report of how, you know, this is the ways you can strengthen. Wow. So it's definitely a lot of layers to it.
Is there any like stories that you're able to share that, you know, where there's like been times where companies got hacked and you guys were able to help them out? Or
definitely there's been scenarios where just, you know, we install things on our devices. And, you know, maybe there's a, you know, especially on like Windows software.
Yeah, Windows.
You know, there's a plugin for this and a plugin for that. It might be installed on your Chrome, Google Chrome. And that plugin might have data that's saved. And someone can utilize some type of loophole in that company's plugin to get your data. Damn. And I have assisted companies that, you know, main office staff, you know, having an issue where they're being impersonated. Where's the email coming from? It's not coming from that individual. So, you know, having to respond to those types of situations, something that I have had to do before. So
being impersonated like with AI? Somebody using their voice?
I don't think it was AI. I think, you know, honestly, we never got to the bottom of it. You know, sometimes you just have to do what you can just to kind of shut it off, stop the bleeding. You know, it can be ugly at certain times, you know, and there's definitely people out there that have that skill set that can maybe do more than what I might be able to do at Protech. But, you know, we typically for businesses, you know, it's like getting to the bottom of this or do we want to get back to business? And most people want to get back to business.
Absolutely.
You know, that's one of the things with Protech. You know, I don't go into businesses, you know, like when I look in their server room, it might look a mess. You know, cables running everywhere. Right. Hey, it's not my job to make that look perfect. It's my job to figure out why that computer ain't working. There we go. So there's a certain level, you know, when you get in, because you can go all day. Man, you would be a full-time employee if they, you know, wanted to make that investment. So
if somebody's calling you for your company, like what services do you provide exactly?
Well, you know, I typically never, when people ask if I do something, unless it's something in the along the lines of programming, I never say no. So typically that first response is just doing that initial consultation, 20, 30 minutes, assessing the problem, seeing what's going on. And, you know, maybe if it's not me that fixes it, maybe I'm, you know, passing them off to someone who I know who can fix it.
Gotcha.
But being that point person and someone that they can go to, not some, you know, a lot of IT guys don't like to talk to people or be, you know, friendly to people.
Man, yeah.
So, you know, being a friendly face that they can feel comfortable talking to, that's a part of the sales pitch.
Man, that's big though, because I mean, I don't know if it's just like the media or whatnot, but you get that impression like some of the IT are kind of like the, you know, the geek or whatever, like the awkward guy who's socially awkward. But like, you know, you definitely have that charisma about you. You can be able to talk to whoever and be able to be in somebody's house and speak to the family. And
Yes, sir.
Fix whatever they need to be fixed.
It's just like healthcare. You know, if someone was to say, you know, no one, you know, there's nurses, there's doctors, there's different types of nurses, different types of doctors, and it's the very same thing with IT. And many times people use it in such a broad way. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely those people who, you know, go home, they're in their basement coding at night. But there's other people that, you know, maybe they work in an element of sales, or they're in graphic design and they're in the art space. There's so much that goes into it.
Absolutely, man. Like, I just picture the what's his name, Wade on Kim Possible. You know what I mean? I think of like the coders, like just like how the media has showed us different people with the technology and whatnot. But it's crazy to think, like, I don't know, like, what you think, what are computers gonna be like, you know, even just 10 years from now? You know, will they be like as we know them today? You know, or what would it?
Hey, I always say that everything that we know and we've experienced about technology is all in its infancy stage. Man, you know, we are the millennial generation. We're the first generation to grow up with technology in the household. So we've been raised in this baby.
Yeah.
You know,
that's crazy.
You know, so think of how much, you know, your infant changes from, you know, becoming a toddler to a young boy to adolescent to maturity and then to that aging space, you know. So they look at numbers that talk about the number of time it takes to get 1 billion users on a platform. Where, like, it used to take 3 or 4 years to get 1 billion users on a platform, whereas now you can have 1 billion users in 3 months. You see that some of those statistics being measured. So when you ask what the next level is, it's definitely a lot of artificial intelligence. Machine learning is a concept.
What's that? Machine learning?
Machine learning is a way that it's not only artificial intelligence, but you programming the intelligence to get better. You know, it's a whole different. You know, there's the
programming the intelligence to get better.
Machine learning.
So like feeding it more data, books, all that stuff.
Yeah. So they use it with Facebook. If they use it with Facebook, you know, they might say, you know, you started off on Facebook one day, you know, you like the post, and then next thing you know, they put something in front of you. You know what I'm saying? But then as you keep liking, they're learning about you, and now they're gonna take what they learn and say, you know, send him this reel of this guy fishing, or send him this golf clip, or whatever. And that's why, you know, we got to be conscious of all that we consume, because you know it's gonna hook on to you and latch on to you. And it's gonna keep it in your face all the time.
It's crazy because it's not like somebody's actually like they're like, hey, send them a new picture of this. It's the algorithm.
To learn about
algorithm. That's crazy.
And you can, you know, manipulate that stuff. You know, I know there's a whole, you know, the social media marketing agency. They get a lot into that. It's definitely a science. You know,
it definitely is,
because they can change it up any minute.
Absolutely. I remember Del Vaughn. He showed me this C-SPAN with Mark Zuckerberg, and he said pretty much data is more valuable than oil and gold. It was like 2017, so I was like, wow, like I was like, that's really interesting, but it makes sense because if you have data on somebody, you know where they live, you know what they like to eat.
That's how they make their money, is selling your data.
So they literally sell data.
Oh yeah, it might.
How does that work?
So like, let's say I'm Facebook, I have data about a certain demographic or a certain locale. There can be a company that comes and say, okay, I want you to help me. I'm Tyson Chicken. Help me identify the people who eat chicken based upon the recipes that they liked on your platform. And Facebook, the sales guys, the marketing team, they'll however way they do it. There might be some, we don't hear about it. You know, it might be something, a contract they sign.
It's legal. It's legal, right?
Does that.
Is that legal?
Yeah, the federal government does that. They'll go right to Facebook the way all these other companies do, and they'll say, you know, this is what we want to know. And based upon the regulations that are in place, this is what they'll provide us. So, you know, there's certain things they can't provide, but they don't need to know, you know, your name is Chris, my name is Josh. They just need to know about every person in this locale. They don't even, you know, they call it metadata, which is data about
data. I've heard of that.
Data about data. So just
that's crazy. Data about data.
Give me analysis. That's another cutting edge area of tech, is big data. It's just learning how to analyze all of this aggregated data.
Wow, that's interesting. So then a company can can somebody like ourselves go to Facebook and get data so you can use that for to grow your business?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
That would be kind of cool. Like, give me the data on.
Now, here's what they will sell you. So let's say you wanted to put a marketing advertisement on your podcast. They say, okay, who you want to market to? You can tell Facebook, I only want this ad, which you'll pay for.
Right.
You'll link your card and all that. I only want it to go to 27 to 40-year-olds.
Right.
If you wanted a certain nationality, you can. I don't know.
You can actually do that.
I don't know if you could do that by nationality, but you can do it by age group.
Right.
You can do it by location. They do give you certain kind of out of the box options where a normal person like you and I can't do that.
That's interesting, man. That's real interesting, man. See, I haven't used Facebook ads or Google ads yet, but I want to get into that and figure out how to do it.
You can scale it up and say maybe you only want to spend $15. So they'll say, okay, you're only going to reach 5,000 people. But if you tick that dollar amount up, they'll say, okay, we can reach this, give you this demographic that we've agreed upon. They've really commercialized it and made it like a McDonald's where you could just go in and do it yourself.
That's wild, though, to think about that, man. It's so interesting, man.
But it's companies that are not Facebook that do the same thing that you don't want, don't hear about. Their company might be just harvesting public data, but you don't know them as Facebook. It could be some weird random company that's just their business model.
How do they get their data then?
Public data. If I'm walking down the street, basically when you're on the internet, you got to think of yourself being out in public or in Walmart on the street.
I've never thought about it like that.
Oh yeah, if you're on the internet, it's just like you being in Walmart.
Even if you hit the incognito button?
Oh yeah, they got you. They got you. Hey man, they got you. They got you. I mean, you can hit the incognito button and all, but somebody's got that information somewhere. Google. If you're talking about incognito, you're talking about Google. But if you're sending stuff over the internet, if somebody has a mindset, in a public space, you're logging into, you at Dino's on the Wi-Fi, and it's just open Wi-Fi at Dino's.
Okay.
Hey, and it is, because that's one of my spots. But
yeah, I like Dino's. Shouts out Dino's.
Hey, shout out Dino's. No shade.
Right.
Lock up that Wi-Fi though.
Reach out to Josh. Whoever's at Dino's, reach out to Protech Wichita to get that. Could you tighten it up for them, or you lead them to the right person?
I definitely could. I could set it to where they have to go to a web page, accept the acceptable terms and use, hit I accept, and then they get access.
So this is reminding me, I had a client like about a year ago, and he was getting over a breakup, and he was struggling, but he knows quite a good deal with tech. So this young man, he hacked his ex's Instagram. How easy is it for somebody to hack into our social media?
Well, first of all, it's illegal. Don't do that. You'll end up in jail.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. So that kid that's watching this, man.
Hey, one of the things, is it goes back to our you as the user, how secure am I keeping things? Is it possible for someone to hack? Definitely. There's, when you talk about where we're going in tech, you can talk about like quantum computing, which is just like different level. I don't even completely understand it.
Yeah, that stuff goes over my head. I heard of quantum computers, they said.
And whenever quantum computing becomes a thing, I think the whole premise is that all of our current security is going to be like, it's not, you'll be able to tell a computer, hack this, and it'll be able to hack it because of its advanced capacities. Again, it's not.
Man, that's some interesting stuff.
I read books about that. I don't understand it completely.
Do you know any good ones, real quick, before?
The book that I'm actually reading is a certification. It's called CISSP, and it is a good book. If you want to read it, it's a certification that basically it gives you the validation to go into an organization and put in an exhaustive and comprehensive security policy.
Okay.
So it's something that can get you in the tech field.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to increase my learning by reading that. But
that's super dope, man.
Yeah, get exposed to them topics. But to the social media thing, if people. Man, I've had people reach out to me. It's like, can you track an IP address? It's like,
because they're trying to like track the kids or something.
I don't know. I try not to get into that type of stuff.
Right, man.
But it's definitely possible if someone had malicious intent and then they were willing to invest in finding someone who had the skill set or whatever other means. Because one of the things about security, it's not always a hacker. It could just be somebody talking to you, getting information from you. They call that social engineering. James Bond type stuff.
See, I thought social engineering was a good term, like almost like sound like a career path.
It can be a level of cybersecurity. If let's say I know you, I've tried to hack your system before, and it's asking me, what's your dog? What was your first pet's name? So now I might have the motive to come and have a whole conversation with you just to say, hey man, what was the name of Fido, your dog, back in the day? Wow. I mean, if someone is willing to go to that level, and there's term, espionage and spies. There are people
just to get somebody's password.
Mm-hmm. I mean, now that's when you look at us versus other countries and on a military scale. But as you talk about in our social dynamic, people, people put a lot on that, things they see on social media, it's definitely a platform, but I think people forget that it's just a platform. And
like you said, it's like almost like walking down the street, the digital street. Mm-hmm. So what can we do? What can we do to keep our social media accounts safe? Like, do we need to change our password every week? Does that even matter? Or can people, if somebody wants to get in, can they get in?
Well, you definitely want to have a complex password. I know it might be annoying when they say two capital letters, two numbers, two exclamation points, but you make it harder for a computer to hack you, or someone who might have some type of advanced level of computing tool if you have a more complex password. But also just reviewing your privacy settings, going in and seeing things that you're making publicly available, because the person who's trying to do something against you may not even be your friend on there. You might just put it out there public, and now they got all that access. So
that's wild.
And it, you would like to think that we don't live in them times, but man, you never know. You never know.
It's crazy times. This is a lot of good, and at the same time, there's stuff like this, But do you see it getting better?
I don't think we're getting better. I don't think it's gonna get better. As it relates to IT and people trying to do that type of cyber crimes and stuff. They're only going, you put a control in place, they're going to figure out a way to get around it.
This is job security for you guys' field, because IT, like cybersecurity, like this stuff is like, these companies need you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard something, I saw like a post, somebody said there's more money in to be in tech than like ball players. Some of these tech guys and girls are out here making bank.
Oh, yeah. Especially, we in Wichita. Mm-hmm. So, companies can get away with paying you a certain amount, and nobody's going to fuss too much. But if you go to Dallas or LA and New York, and you have that skill set, and you can deal with some,
too, like Silicon Valley area.
Oh yeah, those larger markets, you really see them. They'll open up their pocketbooks for the person who can have the right skill set.
Do you ever do you think that you guys ever like move to a bigger city, like for that reason, or are you guys kind of?
I mean, not for that reason. I mean. I like Wichita.
You like Wichita?
I do, man. Born and raised here.
Born and raised.
People always ask me, "Are you from here?" I don't know why they ask me.
Well, yeah, why do they ask that? Why y'all ask that? Stop asking them that.
I don't know.
Are you from here?
Yeah.
Like what? Sometimes it is with white folks. I'm gonna be honest. They're like, "Yeah, I'm from here. Like, I live down the street.
I'm born and raised here, man. Went to
just
WSU.
Like you.
Yeah.
Live right down the street from WSU. Matter of fact, and so that's crazy. Like maybe you could tell everybody, like, because the people who know Josh as the tech guy, but like, who's Josh behind the tech guy? Like, what does Josh like to do, like, when he's not doing tech stuff?
Well, I believe in God,
absolutely.
So I spend a considerable amount of time, adding to my faith, reading books, reading the Bible. I go to church. I'm a family man, which I kind of don't like the term, because people don't say family woman, they say family man, like every man should be a family man.
I never really thought about it like that. Family man, family guy.
Yeah, like what's that mean? So anyway, I love my family,
That is really interesting. It's like, I'm a family woman. Like
nobody says that.
Because it's already like associated. Like, if you're a woman,
it's implied
you're gonna be with a family. Damn.
Hey, man, a lot has changed, man, those dynamics. But I do all I can to take care of my family.
Absolutely.
I made sure they was fed before I came here.
Okay, that's what's up.
Gotta do that. I love to play golf. Now that I work from home, it really opens my mind up to what do I like to do. I'm not in an office, so I'm not confined to a certain schedule.
Absolutely.
I really been exploring all kind of things.
That's awesome, man. What is it like working from home?
Oh man, I love it. It's a little rough now that the kids are home from school. Last year we had them in the summer camp. This year they just home with dad. So, I'll wake up, I'll get started. My wife will go to work.
Yep.
I'll get to work, and then my kids, I'll let them sleep in. My dad didn't let me sleep in past 10. I'll let my kids sleep in.
Okay, there we go.
So I might make them, I'll break from work and go do dad stuff.
Right.
And, if I have a big gap between meetings, we might go to All-Star Sports, or we might go to the movies or something.
That's what's up,
man. But
it's
allowed me to, I talk about, I read with my Bible a lot, when God placed Adam in the garden, he told him to work that garden, to tend to the garden, to keep his garden.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like I'm in my garden, I'm in my place, I'm in my home. Shoot,
that's what's up, man.
Can't nobody run up in your house, you know what I'm saying? Whereas you out in public, anything can happen to you. So I just feel like I'm in where the place where God wants me to be.
Watch out for the snakes.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like the walled garden, it keeps like everything, secure. So definitely, man. It's awesome, man. That's really cool to be able to hear, your family man, or what term would you like to call it instead of family man, or just
masculinity is frowned upon, I feel like, just because we've seen so many portraits of undeveloped masculinity, but when that masculinity is fully developed and mature, it's a good thing. So I just just call me a man. It should just be not a family man, but we as men, and through our provision, the way we manage and rule like kings, we should be known and be able to say, I'm just a man, and that we should be known as that.
Exactly. What do you think's happened? Like in society, because there are obviously men who toxic masculinity and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But what's your thoughts about on the topic of manhood and being a man, and these false definitions of what a man or a real man is? And
man, that's a loaded question. When just when you look at not only what you look at just scenarios like, the whole Diddy thing.
Oh.
That's
a whole nother episode.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, they're
and they were trying to find someone on his computer. They couldn't cyber attack him without the raid. You know what I mean?
Man, I ain't gonna get too far off into it, man. But he was on some wild stuff, and everybody, and he, and just getting talking about what we need as men. It's like we gotta have more discipline.
Absolutely,
you can't just be out doing everything with everybody. Disciplining how we think, disciplining how we speak, how we speak to others. All that, man, that makes a difference.
Absolutely, because can't be out here with 11 kids. I mean, you can be out here with 11 kids, but that's just. How you even
just
watch all of
doing that to your man? I won't speak on it. I won't speak on it. I try to speak what's edifying. But man, we definitely got to hold ourselves to that, and then put ourselves in spaces where we can allow others to hold each other accountable. But men typically just like to do activities together, or not women. Where women will just meet up, talk about everything that's going on, and share all kind of stuff. Men don't do that. It's like, we playing golf.
Right, right.
Even when you're looking to, you playing golf, trying to close a business deal, you got 3 sentences, one between after hole 3.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you ain't gonna be out there talking all day.
That's crazy, man.
So, having that, putting yourself in a position and letting someone hold you accountable. I mentioned Del Vaughn.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Del Vaughn.
Yeah, shout out to Del Vaughn.
Dynamic.
A great mentor of mine. I tell him, hey man, this is what I'm trying to do in life. I see you're doing it.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to come up, based upon your perspective, where you at, and being able to put yourself, it may not, I have female mentors. We mentioned Christina Long. I work with her on with Create Campaign and things like that, but I'm always receptive to her feedback and input and critique. And, you have to do that to build yourself up,
Absolutely, man. So definitely we got to adapt to the feedback, to the advice that people give us, and not be, so egotistical and be like, I ain't got to change.
Yeah,
this is how it is.
Got to be open to wisdom,
And everybody got a little bit of wisdom. That's why I like doing this show, because I feel like everybody has, some information to share. Everybody has their nuggets of knowledge,
Definitely,
for sure.
Their area of giftedness, their talent or skill.
Yeah.
People see, the thing with me and tech, they see that because I've intentionally put that type of marketing material out there. So the fact that people associate me with tech is still like, man, that's just crazy. Marketing works. But everyone has a gift.
Yeah. Everybody.
That if they, that's why I love Create Campaign and all that they teach to help entrepreneurs get their gifts together, formalize, put it out there as a business, and take the roof off all your possibilities and capabilities.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I was going to ask you, do you feel like there's a benefit of being a black man in tech? like when you're going out working with the homes and whatnot, do you feel like there's a benefit to that, or maybe it's the exact opposite? Somebody calls you and they come out to the house, they're like, oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah. Well, you know,
I didn't realize you were.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, I look like.
You know, I've been in tech long enough now that I can show up as myself.
Okay,
you know, I
there
used
we
to
go.
be conscious of, you know, I come with my tattoos out. I'm like, but that's coming from
Okay, yeah,
corporate.
I like the tattoo.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. I spent way too much money on tattoos, man.
You got that Green Bay watch. I just now
Oh,
realized,
yeah.
bro. I
Oh,
didn't,
yeah.
man. Shoot,
Yes, sir.
dang, I didn't
Yes,
miss all the
sir.
kids.
Oh,
Yeah, Packers.
Oh yeah, Packers fan.
Okay, but that's another. We'll talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the only thing you got to cover up when you go to the house. They might see that. They might change their mind, Josh.
Right. But you know, coming like when I started in tech, I worked at a job. I was the tech guy at a job.
Right.
So I had to, you know, what is it, dress code? You know, I didn't even know what it was. I'm working from home so much now, but now I don't have to adhere to no dress code.
Okay.
So, you know, in a formal tech capacity, you might have to get dressed up or whatever. But, you know, after all the years, you know, now I can say that I'm not in that space no more, and I'm never going back to an office.
Man,
Lord willing.
Bro, that's the same way. Same way. It doesn't feel so good to work for yourself because you've been working for yourself 2015? Is that when you started it? Man, it's a minute. And that's the same time you got married, right?
I got married in 2013.
2013. Man, so yeah, that was a lot of good stuff happening, like boom, boom, back to back.
You know, I made a commitment to myself that I'd never give myself the excuse of, oh, I got married or I had kids, like it's a bad thing and I have to stop pursuing, you know, things that I, you know, my dreams and things that I desired in business. So I thank God my wife's always been very supportive, you know, kids been supportive.
Absolutely,
you know, things
man.
like that. So
that's cool, man. Maybe even like advice of like, man, like, cause I didn't realize how long you guys were married. So that's
going on
11.
11 years.
Yeah, man, exactly, man. Because I feel like nowadays so many people are afraid of marriage, which is I never really liked that. You know what I mean? Like, with so many people are afraid to get married. You know, my parents are still married. I asked my dad, I'm like, man, how do you do it? He's like, man, honestly, if I was in your generation, it probably wouldn't be the same.
You know, I say the same thing because I definitely, you know, I'll graduate high school 2007. When'd you graduate?
010.
010.
Heights, yep.
Okay.
2010. So you're 07. Yep, I figured that. Yeah, 07, yep.
So I feel like, you know,
East High?
I went to Southeast. I graduated from Southeast.
Got you.
But I feel like, you know, things have not, like I mentioned, things ain't getting better from when I was in high school, you know. So So like when you think when you ask about marriage now, and you know they're so concerned with so much. Like when I met my wife, social media, even though we both had Facebook, it wasn't such a prevalent thing. We still had actual lives and stuff, and you know, I never been the type of person to go around giving advice, you know, because it's just like, hey, it's tough. You know, if
everybody has their own,
you know. And I think it's more so than you can look at any long-term commitment and look at the qualities that make any long-term commitment successful, and that's what marriage is. It's a long-term commitment.
Man,
I'm not just committing to this for a year, 2 years, 3 years. No, it's a long term. Till death do us part. So that would be the thing that I would say if someone's trying to go that route is, you know, make sure you got what you need for that long term commitment.
I like that. I love that.
Because, you know, we all human, you know, so you commit to another flawed person for the rest of your life. So
I know that's really interesting how you look at it like that, like it's a commitment. And so like I think nowadays, and maybe technology has done this, but we don't really want to be committed just to one thing nowadays. Like we can't just be committed just to Netflix. We gotta have Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN and everything.
We got
so many options. And so I think that what brings, you know, the issues when it comes to like, you know, dating, you know, for some people, you know, it's like you got the option, you could reach out to an ex that you knew in high school or some crap. And so I feel like we need to get back to just being committed just to like one thing, you know, just instead of like all this other stuff, so then we don't have to end up ruining our relationships in our life.
Yeah, I speak from, you know, from a place of maturity where I can say that I haven't always had that mentality. Yeah. And, you know, I've been able to see the fruit of, you know, the way I was living, you know, when I was in my younger years. But, you know,
we all went through those phases.
You know, but, you know, when you see and open your mind to that long-term commitment, it's really about the things that you say about yourself, you know. You know, who I am as a man, you know, I should be able to honor my commitments, you know, more, of course, in my marriage, but in everything. I try to make that just my personal brand. If I say I'm going to do something, hey, it's done.
It's done.
It's done. So,
What did you learn that like aspect from your father or your mom or?
Definitely, my dad was definitely. You know, my dad's a pastor.
Really?
So I was raised a pastor's
Where
kid.
was he preach at?
Bible Way Communion Faith.
Where's that at?
2105 North Jackson on the north side. Across
Is that by Brooks?
Quick Trip. Off of 20th and Waco area.
Oh, okay. 20th and Waco. Okay,
they call it the barrio side of town.
Okay, yep.
So he's been
Did not know your dad was a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a pastor's kid.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like? Is it stereotype true?
A lot of it is true.
Which parts?
I
had no idea, man.
A lot of it is true. A lot of it is not true. I think they say pastors' kids are the worst kids.
Yeah, I don't see that with you though.
I think it. For me, it was just always having eyes on you.
Right.
When you think you just chilling, being yourself, being a kid. It's somebody, looking at your behavior and like, oh, I need to go back. And I dealt with that a lot coming up,
That'd be tough.
Or maybe not even me, maybe my sibling did something and, somebody, maybe has something to say or maybe wanted to go back and tell my dad it's a slightly different version, or whatever. That's the types of things that I
definitely
dislike the most.
For sure. And you got a brother or sister?
I got two brothers.
And
a sister.
Wow. So you guys all pastor kids, and how about that? Look at that, man. So like in a different universe, you could have been a pastor, maybe. I don't know.
People always, they say, man, you're gonna be a pastor. If I felt
a lot of pressure probably back then, right?
It's I've never accepted that pressure just because I don't see the glamorous side. My dad is. I've seen him week in, week out. It's not
commitment.
It's commitment.
You gotta commit to the whole church,
man. And
it's a lot.
That, I don't know unless I could say to you that, man, I'm called to do that. I'm not volunteering. I'm not signing up. I don't know why anybody would. Because I've seen what my father's going through and ministering and serving at a church. So, if I ever felt called to preach and all that. I teach a Sunday school class.
Okay.
I can lead a discussion, facilitate a discussion. And I believe that if you, have a certain faith or belief, you should be able to say why you do. You should be able to have a certain level of preacher in you about why you think what you think. So every person, it's not just one person. So we should all be able to stand on business about what we believe.
Facts.
So
the crazy thing is like my homie Deontay. I don't know if you know Deontay, but he just graduated from seminary school. So he's just getting ready for it. He's getting ready for everything he's saying. Yeah, but shout out to him. It's a big accomplishment. But I could only imagine like what that's like. Like down the road, like you said, seeing your dad like stressed out. I don't know if it was more of like. Just there's so much demand, like especially at the funerals, and that's what I feel like for me it would be really tough.
Man, I've through my 35 years of living, I've seen my dad do a lot, but there's so much that I even haven't seen. The time and blood, sweat, and tears he's put into it. So it's a lot. It weighs heavy on a person's heart. And
absolutely,
people put a certain expectation on you that they don't put on themselves, but both of us call ourselves a Christian. So why is it that now, mind you, my dad is one of the most reverent, disciplined people I know, but I just think as a matter of, if we both believe the same thing, don't levy an expectation on someone else or someone else's kids or whoever that you don't put on yourself, and that's what people do, and it's a challenge because sometimes people can use that and say, oh, I'm not going to church.
Oh, but, man, there's all those folks that do that.
Mm-hmm, but, I mean, ultimately, it's each person's individual walk, So, I appreciate all my dad has done, and, even throughout all the bad experiences being raised a pastor's kid, it's had many benefits on my life. So
because my dad, he was a principal, so I kind of got a little bit of that.
Yeah.
He wasn't my principal though.
So I'm sure every day in school. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then and then my mom, she was working in school too. So then you got, I know what you mean when you say you got the eyes watching. Like you gotta have to be like,
is gonna be in that.
They know they like, oh, you Mr. Jones' son. It's like, man, but it's really interesting because like even the line of work that I do, like. It's similar to like what my parents did. They're retired now, but and they're actually over there in Atlanta area because you were out in Atlanta too for one point. How did you like Atlanta? Because man, I feel like if I moved to Atlanta, I would have just ended up just staying.
Man,
it's like New Africa out there.
Man, I mean, if you really have a solid plan on what you're trying to do and things like that, I would say Atlanta's a great place.
Okay.
Get right to business.
Yeah.
But if you out there trying to find yourself and just kick it and have a good time, I would say that it's probably not the best place. I didn't like. Maybe I would live in like Marietta, Alpharetta, somewhere on the outskirts. But. It was just a wild place, man.
Really?
It was a lot for me, I read.
What part of Atlanta were you in?
I lived in Norcross for a little bit.
Okay.
Before I ended up transitioning to Augusta, Georgia, east of Atlanta.
Yeah, that's where my parents at.
So Atlanta was cool. I would always travel to Atlanta, and sometimes I go out there to have a good time or whatever. But
yeah, everybody has their own experience, Yeah.
But
like you said, Wichita is cool. You don't have to worry about traffic.
Man, you can pull right up to a restaurant.
Here.
You ain't got to worry about like valet
reservation.
Is cool.
Yeah,
valet is cool, but man, it's cool just to park right up front and walk in.
One thing I liked about Atlanta when I went a couple of years ago, it was last year we went, and it was just like, man, you see yourself like everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, like you just go to PF Chang's and everybody there is black. It's like, is Tyler Perry shooting a movie? But this is just where it's at. But like then too, I noticed at the restaurants, like they always would play like good music that you actually like. Yeah. I'm like, man, I know this song. But they would play it loud. I'm in the club at a lot of these restaurants. I'm like, I gotta yell across the table.
And that's one of the great things you mentioned, Afrotech. You get to it's an annual conference. I went there on last year, and it's you get to see people from all of the Atlanta, DC, all over the place, and then you realize I get more entrenched in my identity as a Kansas kid because I'm just not the Atlanta and
it's
like
different.
It's different, and
Absolutely.
I'm not chasing no fast life, none of that.
No.
And I'm not saying that everybody that lives there lives a fast life, but it's a lot more high speed. I was just I was trying to visit my cousin in Dallas, man, and it's like, man, he's my cousin, man. He got a nice place down there.
Okay.
And I'm
shout
like,
out to your cousin.
Yeah, shout out my cousin. I don't want to name drop,
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, cuz how I get into your and it was just a lot, man.
Right.
It wasn't like a little place that you could just pull over, just to get your bearings real quick. It was like, nah, it's like everything's super busy all the time, So.
It's like Dallas is like Wichita 2.0.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people from Wichita, it seems like they go to Dallas.
Yeah. But I mean, you're just gonna be paying more for little stuff. I mean,
I know that's what it's like, man. Like you can come
I
here.
I like coming here, man. You can go get a steak for $25-$30, and a tip. You go other places, man. It's like I'm a frugal guy, and maybe I've just been made to be frugal.
Okay,
living in Kansas, not having a lot of options. Hey, I just take what I got, and I'll be cool with that.
That's cool, man. It's really, I was thinking that too. I was like, man, I know there's probably like a man in your life that definitely, helped you to become who you are now, because, it's unfortunate for some folks, especially the kids I work with, they don't have that man in their life, or maybe they do have a man in their life, but they're not a disciplined man, if you will, so they're more of like I hate to say, but more like a child, so it's like, it's really cool to be able to see like, somebody like yourself, and to be able to see like just how successful you have become in your own path, bro. It's inspiring. That's why I wanted you to come on the show for sure, bro. Like, did you realize you would be like at this level of success? Like,
Man, I thought I would get there, but I thought I'd be like 50 or
maybe
45.
Right.
And now that I'm getting up there, that's only 10 years away, but
that makes it sound. It don't sound like forward now.
But I truly, man, I love my job. I love my family. I love my home. I'm sometimes you can by just wanting more all the time.
Man,
you can play yourself out of a bad spot.
It's like going to the casino.
Yeah.
It's like you got no one to leave. You're already up. You up. $50, take it.
I'm trying to preserve,
right?
Preserve, and, maintain.
Exactly.
It's one thing to get something, but it's a whole another level of commitment to keep something. Whether it's a car, a house. Look, I'm trying to remodel a bathroom.
Okay, man. Do you know how to do? Nah. Okay. I'm about to say me jack of all trades, tech and carpenter.
Nah.
That would have been dope.
I ain't gonna get on here and cap. My wife would be like, man, now you was on that podcast talking about you doing all. Nah, but I got I'm getting my bread up. Pay the money out of professionals.
There we go. Yeah.
So, man, I can get it together.
So you guys doing some like decorating?
Trying to remodel, man, like again, just, keeping the house together, keeping things together in general. It's just like, man, it's like everything to be kept. I got to get my tags renewed. Get new license
next month
plate.
For me. Yeah, I just looked at it today. I was like, when are the tags?
Yeah, that's adulting. That's what they call it now. Just maintaining,
Exactly.
Not to mention trying to take it to another level.
Right, right.
You got to really have, got to have some mental bearing, some grit about you,
That mental toughness. That mental toughness is
that's one thing that I appreciate about being raised. I was born in '89, so I claim an '80s baby. I don't want to claim.
Okay. All right, you on the other side then, huh?
Where we did a lot of things that these kids today didn't do. And I don't want to be I guess I'm gonna be that old, grow up to be that old person. But it's like I'm glad I was raised. Facts. We went outside, got on our bikes.
Because we were right at the cusp, like you said. Like we, what did you say? That we're the first generation to grow up with the computer in the home. Mm-hmm.
And now, I had America Online dial-up internet. It took 5 minutes just to get on the internet to access, just a couple of pages, Yahoo and whatever, some AOL chat.
It's crazy to think about that nowadays.
Now my kids, man, I have to literally say, all right, tablet time is done. Bring them here. I got to put them in my room.
Yeah, it's
like they love that.
How do you guys do screen time?
Well, definitely got to limit it. Break it up. Maybe they've been. It's useful for, maybe I got a conference call. I need y'all to be quiet. Here you go. Man. But I don't allow myself as a parent just to be like, nah, we need to do something else. We got to break this up. Y'all can fold some laundry. Y'all can take out the trash. We can go outside, do some yard work.
It's tough. It's a tough one there too, because it's like it is convenient when you're working on something. It's so easy just to give a tablet and just like, all right, go. Mm-hmm. You had a stressful day at work, give them a tablet.
And that child is not developing how they intend. I try to put in perspective. I say, son, imagine there was nothing on the tablet and you was just staring at a blank screen.
Wow.
Would you do that for hours?
Wow.
And it's like, of course not. And I try to get them to see all you're watching is a program or you're interacting with a game, but you're doing the same thing as if it was a black screen. Now,
wow,
if you're doing something like you're reading, you're watching something educational. But if you're, my kids, man, they want to get on Roblox and
oh my gosh, they want
Roblox. So much. I'll hear one of my kids playing a game. I'm hearing gunshots. I'm like, what game are you playing, man? Yeah. So to leave kids to that for hours upon hours, they're not developing how they should. So we as parents,
right,
read books to our kids, take them outside, throw a ball around, do little things.
I remember one time, like my son, he woke up and he was like late. I was like, man, why are you waking up like it's like 12 o'clock? What's going on? Are you sick? Like what happened? And I was like, this is not really like you. And then my girlfriend was like, check the phone. And I was just like, why would we need to do that for? Like, and I checked the phone. And I saw how long he was playing. He was playing Roblox all through the night till like 4 a.m. And I was just like, man, like, what is this? So we banned Roblox from him. But like, man, like it's so cool, like to be able to see that data, like as a parent, you can be able to see like how long they've been on the screen. But then again, I know like if I was a kid with like a Life 360 kind of app where they can know where you're at, like we used to ride our bikes all around the city. Like, parents didn't know where we were at, but nowadays these kids are on lockdown with some of these new apps. Like,
you
can't go nowhere,
man. And for younger kids, of course, and your kids getting introduced to adolescence and stuff like that. But for teenagers and stuff, I'm not ready for that, man. I don't know how I'm gonna manage that whole dynamic of now I got a fully grown teen. Got to live his life. He got to go out and stand on his own team.
It's tough. Well, you got boys though, so you got a little benefit there, right? Because in having the girls, I can only imagine like, man, it's a whole nother level, man. Because you got all these like sexy red kind of type people out there.
That, all kind of influences, man, and it's like. I figure, man, there's so much going on in the world. All you can really do at the end of the day is you take care of your family, the people that's connected to you, close to you, the people that you can try to, maybe someone you can inspire, someone that maybe you don't even know. But
absolutely,
Yeah, it's a lot going on out there.
It's a lot going on. What keeps you balanced through everything? You know, like is it the tech or maybe it's the golf? Maybe that's like where you find your peace.
That's it. It's the golf. It's the golf. No, I mean,
did you see that video Cat Williams made about golf?
Mm-hmm.
Man, can you talk about that? Because I was like, that was a gem. Because Cat, he always like throws some gems out there. But I was like, man, I never thought of golf like that.
Oh, definitely. Because no one's hitting it. 1, 2, 3 on the green in the hole. A lot of times we hit it all over the place. And once starting off, I was recovering from bad spots. You trying to hit a slap shot through the trees or trying to hit one over a tree. But the more time you commit to it and you can get consistent in your swing and the fundamentals, you can control it a little bit better. Take your mind off whatever's you're stressed out about something.
You just gotta focus just on the ball.
Get out there on the golf course, you forget about everything.
Man, that's cool. So you would have been. So do you do like tournaments and stuff, or is it just?
I've recently played in it. I played in Reflection Ridge tournament. I was in the right place at the right time. Got offered opportunity to play in that. Didn't do too bad. First tournament. I play once a week.
You might just leave all the tech stuff behind if we start going off.
I really am. I'm trying to hire and have someone. They go out and they fix the issue. They have a problem, they call me or they call someone else. So I'm really trying to expand it because of course I love tech, but I can't fix everything for everybody. So
I know, man. Yeah.
I try to focus on things that are really high value, and then still makes opportunities for people I can hire to take care of those other things and mentor in the.
Man, that's real smart. So just like something simple, like even like we talked about too, like maybe setting up like a home security system, like you could have somebody else go do that.
Yeah. Now the thing is with your baby. Like for you to be a potential new client. I'm not at the place where I got a new client. I'm gonna send the new guy to the new client. It's like, nah. That's where the challenge is.
That's what's difficult even for myself. Like hiring another therapist. Like I don't know exactly how you do therapy.
Mm-hmm. But it's really it's on me because I want to act as a mentor. And you don't want to put someone like I put myself in situations where I have no clue what the problem is. I have no idea how I'm gonna fix it. I do that very often. In fact, I've done that like every day my whole life as a tech guy, and I don't like to I don't necessarily want to assume that someone else wants to be in that situation where it's just something that came up and you got to use your off. I remember this one thing that I used way back when. So you don't got to call all this stuff that you've collected in your mind.
Right.
I don't want to put someone in that situation. Whereas that's kind of how I've had to thrive in tech. Man. You got to be twice as good because they see you're young, black guy in Kansas. It's a predominantly white, race that, kind of dominates that field at the, at least when I was coming in. So, I've always had to be like, no, I'm not no scrub. You
always have to prove yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Oh, yeah. And it just helped, I'm just grateful now I can just be confident going in different situations. Mm-hmm. But again, I definitely try to, just like McDonald's, they try to break the process down so that, hey, anybody can come and
anybody, exactly. They're not worried about
that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to break it down so that, I can hire someone on. And
absolutely.
I know you mentioned that you do the counseling and things like that. I think that's an amazing thing.
Appreciate it, man.
I could ask, I could interview you, man, on, because what's it like being...
I'm an open book, man.
Because, it's just, I have such a pause because, in the black community.
Yeah, man.
And I'm sure you hear it often. You already know what I'm going to say is that, it's such a stigma.
It's that stigma. It is a stigma.
So how is it been trying to break that stigma for people who have, I think, is it June still? I mean, it's the Men's Mental Health Month. So how's it been for you trying to, get people who need assistance with things to consider things? Because, I come from a house where it's like, you just pray about it, pray about it. And that's great.
We call that spiritual bypassing. That's what that is.
That's spiritual bypassing.
That's what spiritual bypassing is, Whether it be whatever religion, even if you are just meditating, putting crystals over your neck, like it's still spiritual bypassing.
And not dealing with the issue.
Not dealing with the issue. I had a client and he lives with his grandma. They're a nice family, but the grandma, she has a lot of different mental illnesses going on, anxiety, depression, and she's like, I'm just gonna pray. I'm just gonna pray, Chris. I'm like, well, it looks like you might be struggling. You might, maybe talk to the doctor about this. Maybe, or therapy, but she's like, I've been praying for the last 20 years. And she got a lot going on. But I was like, what kind of example are you setting? You're bringing your son to therapy to see me, but you don't even believe in it. And all these things you're sharing with me, all these people that passed away, all this trauma you've dealt with, and, God made people to help. He made doctors, he made tech guys, therapists. So it's like, I don't, and so really what it comes down to is just, especially for Black folks, we grew up in homes where what stays in the home stays in the home. Kind of like what happens here, nobody else talk about it just because for whatever reasons, and then nobody wants the social worker coming up to the house and asking all these questions. So really, I don't even think it's just like Black homes. I think it's just any like traditional home. It could be a white family that's like that. I see white families, Hispanic, Asian families. Like, they're really, struggle, with it. My girlfriend, she's Asian, and like it's a cultural difference. Like some people just don't believe in mental health, and it's just, now, people do, a lot more now, but, some people just don't. And so sometimes I'll see a kid who they believe in mental health and they want therapy. One time I had this Asian female client, and I saw her for like 2 sessions. Her mom called. She's like, when are you guys gonna be done with therapy? And I said, we just got started. Like, this is our second appointment. So like for her, like where she's from, this is new. So she just thought it's something like you just take your car to the shop or take your computer to Josh and he'll fix it up in 2 days and it should be good to go. But it's not the same with the human mind, man. It would be cool if it could be, but the human mind is very complex. Like, I think that's we're the original technology now to think about it.
Hey, you're exactly right.
We're the original. All this stuff is designed off of, speakers. All this is designed off of us. So it's like we have to remember we're the best computer out here in the cosmos, man. The human brain. So like you telling your son, I really like that. Like you're looking at a black screen.
You spoke something major right there, man. You spoke something major right there on many different levels. Because everything that we're trying to reproduce, we're trying to make, computers smarter and we're getting dumber, Man,
Isn't that crazy,
we already
man?
been given, everything we got, we don't need technology as much. One of my philosophies with implementing, someone comes to me for a tech solution, let's keep it simple.
Absolutely.
Tech is already complex enough, so I'm trying to set you up for a slam dunk. Simple points.
Exactly. I like that.
So, same thing with our lives. I don't think that, we talked about kids having screen time, but even us as adults, we need to, it'll help us simplify our lives.
I would. What do you do to like simplify that? Because I know like after like maybe working on the computer all day, you probably don't want to have to look at another computer.
Man,
and that's where the golf course comes in. I'm glad you got the golf course because
you said two things, man, where the answer's been golf.
But see, that's good that's your coping mechanism. That's your outlet, man. So many men don't have that outlet, or the outlet is just playing 2K, smoking or whatever it might be, or just going out to the club or. But
I see you in the gym. I'll go to the gym every day.
Yeah. You gotta stay in there, man.
Before I had my work from home job, I had to be there early, 4:30 in the morning. I was in there every day.
Yeah.
Wife got me going on the membership, so shout out to her getting me in the gym. And
so that's okay. You guys were there real early. I'm like, man, they up in here. But so you had to be at work at 7. You said
7:30.
Ooh. So now you work from home. You can be there at 2:30, 4:30.
And they start, and it's on Mountain Time. They're based out of Colorado.
Man, that's a blessing.
So my earliest meeting is 9 o'clock. That's if someone schedules her at the beginning of the day, which nobody usually does. But
it's interesting though, because at the time that I go to the gym, I realize there's other people who either work from home or have their own business. Like you start talking to people there, because it's like, how are you here on a Monday?
Right. I'm here, but how are you here?
So I started realizing that, and I realized like, man, like a lot of other people are doing something similar. They got their own business, or maybe they work third shift, which man. My heart goes out to those folks, man.
I mean, that's a great illustration of how just if you start having conversations with the right people, because I do the same thing with me. I find myself, and whether it is on the golf course in the middle of the day,
man, we gotta go out there. You gotta teach me something, because I would love to go out there. I never really, not to cut you off, but I never really like golfed. Like I did Top Golf, but I mean, that's not.
Hey, one thing that you can do to get, they say you should start with putting. Then work on your short game, then start with your driver.
I like that. That makes sense.
You know what I mean? Right.
That
it's
makes
so
a lot of
simple.
sense.
It's so simple. But you know, many people want to start hitting it 300 and they can never get that right.
Wow.
And then they get it on the green and then you're missing the 10-foot putt. It's like, no, I got to make these 10-foot putts. And
that's a good analogy for life, man. Like golf has so many gems to teach you how to live life, because like that right there, simplicity, the highest form of sophistication.
Yes.
You know, I remember hearing that quote, like that's the highest form, because if you can break something down simple, if you can explain something to a 6-year-old or like your son, then you really know it. If you can break it down all the way to the piece and be like, boom.
Yep.
You know, so like golf, you gotta, like you said, you gotta put it first before you try to do a little Charles Barkley hit.
Oh,
that's how I'll be feeling out there, like when Charles Barkley be golfing. That's how I hit the ball.
Man, and it's so much. You know, you look at the professionals; they take it to a whole nother level, like in terms of all that they consider and practice. So I'm just trying to be good enough to where if I'm on there with some folks that I know, then I can hold my own. I can hit a par or two, you know. So
because see, a par is, I don't even know my terminology. A par is when you hit it in 2 hits.
So it's based upon the length of the course.
Okay.
So if it's a longer course, maybe between 300, 450 yards, that's typically going to be like a par 4, which basically says you should be able to get the hole in the ball in 4 shots. That's par. So if it's a shorter hole, maybe like 160 yards, 140 yards, that'll be a par 3. So the goal is to get it in there. Maybe
3
just
hits.
Hitting it over the water onto the green, you know, to put it in for par. So and then there's a par 5, which you know, it might be the super long hole. That's the one where you're like, all right, I gotta drive this thing 300 yards.
Right.
And you know, that's a par 5. So you know, it just depends on the course.
I love the fact that you do. You know, you don't stay like, you know, for example, like, you don't seem like you stay in that box, you know, like how, you know, how as black folks, it's like, oh, you can't listen to any other kind of music than hip hop, R&B, and gospel. But it's like, you're in tech, you know, most people may not think like black people supposed to be in tech. Black people don't play golf, Josh. What are you doing out there?
Hey,
you know what I mean? Like, so
hey.
I don't know. Like, I know for me, like growing up, people always try to like, they would always say this, like, "Oh man, you look like you date white women." That's what people would say. You date. I'm like, and I like literally like we were on a double date, me and my friend Tavon, and the black girl's just like, "Y'all look like y'all date white girls," and I was like, what does that mean? And then we were in Detroit because that's where he's from. Somebody else said it the same week, and I was like, what does that mean? You know, like what does that?
Man,
and then somebody told me, he said, well, because you know y'all got master's degree. I was like, man, are you that? I'm like, what?
Man, they ain't been to a place that really got a lot of black people like that.
That's exactly.
You come to Wichita, Kansas.
Exactly.
I think that's what people imply when they say you're from here.
Exactly.
They're like, yeah, you know, everybody from Wichita that's black
not white
is, you know, not, you know, or you know, they're not a certain type of person, or you know. And even the people that you might think are a certain type of person, they might actually be great people. They may not look like you know, or so. Right. It's a lot of, man, it's a lot of.
How do you deal with it, man? Because I know people probably have said stuff, or like, you know, little things like that, trying to put you in this category. Like, I don't know.
Well, you know, I think I mentioned I went to Mays. That really helped me a lot because it was.
Definitely. Yeah,
high school had 1,600 kids. Maybe only about 15 of them were African American. 4 of them, 3 of
Mays?
them.
But back then it was probably a lot smaller.
Back then.
Though. Yeah, it's huge now.
Yeah, it's probably a lot more diverse too. Yeah. Probably a lot more diverse.
A little bit. I got a little bit,
but just going to high school in that environment, you know, it just made me. I ain't gonna say necessarily comfortable, but like now, if I walk in an environment, if it's nothing but white people, I don't feel uncomfortable. You know, I don't feel like I'm just
absolutely.
And my mom has also done a good job of raising me. Like, I went to Pleasant Valley, which was a primarily Hispanic school. You know, my wife has this, you know, it's Hispanic, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I've got great Asian friends. You know, I try not to put myself in a box.
I love it. That's dope.
And so I can super dope. Talk to whoever. You know, it might be in the airport talking with an executive. And man, I can humble myself, say, nah, this guy's the man right here in this situation. But I might also be, you know, somewhere else talking to, you know, whoever. It could be about tech or, you know, whatever.
I feel like, you know, white people don't have to really adapt to our culture, you know, especially here in Kansas, because, you know, we have to go to the store. We're going to be the minority there. You know, we have to go to work. We might be the minority there. But like if you're a white person in Wichita, like you don't, it's optional to have to be in an environment where you're the only white person. Like if you were to go out to like a black church, like where your dad preaches, or if you were to go to like an all black school, but like it's optional for them. You know, for us, it's something that you just have to adapt to. You're gonna go to the store and you might be the only black guy there.
Yeah, and I think that makes it critical for us to, you know, learn a lot of our history that wasn't taught in schools, because, you know, we can't depend on Wichita public schools. We just talked about it. It's like they don't gotta, you know, deal with it. They don't gotta teach us. So, you know, I learned a lot. You know, just learning the struggles of the past. You know, I know some people just hear Martin Luther King or the big ones, Malcolm X, but
there's a lot more behind.
You start reading a book on what these people went through just to be who you know them as. You know,
it's crazy, man.
I know they just did with the baseball. They had the the Negro League. They had some people talking about what they went through just to play baseball, and it's like
crazy, man. You
know, all that stuff it plays a part in. You know, I try to keep that with me, you know, with how I carry myself. It's like, man, it's more than just me and my desires, but it's like, man, it's a lot of people who ain't had it this good.
That's why I don't even be complaining, man. Like, this is the best time to be a black man.
Yes, sir.
Like, what other time? Like,
oh yeah.
Like, what other time? If you had a time machine, like, what other? I'm not going back to none of those other times, man. This is the best time. Maybe like in the ancient past or something when we were out there building pyramids or whatnot. But like right now, it's like, man, like. This is the golden time to be black.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, you see so many, you know, you talk about, you know, there's so many variations, you know, you talk about black people and all the talents they have, and, you know, it's important that we educate ourselves and stuff so that,
absolutely, man.
You know, knowing where we came from so that we're not allowing the sexy red or whatever society puts in front of us to define us.
Right, we gotta stop doing that too.
Yeah, you know, we know where we come from, what we're capable of. So,
because it's like for hip hop, we like, oh man, this person's for the culture, but we gotta really be figuring out like, is this for the culture? If you're talking about pulling up on your ops,
man,
like why do we accept that for the culture? Like, how is that for the culture? You literally killing the people in the culture.
Hey man, you know that's a challenge that we all have is just trying to be who we say we are, you know.
You know what I mean?
Because we say we want something, so well I gotta act consistently with what I say or I believe, you know.
The commitment. I think that's what, like, the one word I would say, like with the podcast, staying committed to something, because it seems like that's what you've done. Like you stay committed to like this tech stuff.
Yeah, man.
So we definitely got to go out in the golf course, bro. We got to definitely go, man. I want to just see and just sit back and observe how it works, and just, like you said, just do like the little putts. Where do you, before we get going, like where do you golf at?
I like, my favorite is Arthur B. Sim, by Botanica. Then there's Sierra Hills out east is a par 3 course, meaning just most of the holes are shorter. Okay. It kind of helps you work on your short game. I like to play there, and then also McDonald Golf Course right there off Hillside.
Okay.
So you know, but I'll play anywhere. You know, I'm a traveling golfer. I'll be playing in Oklahoma this coming week. You know.
So you're really out here golfing, man.
Yeah. I told myself this year I'm gonna take it serious, and that's all it took. Once you say you're gonna take it serious, okay, now I'm
commitment.
Yeah.
I told you, bro. That's what.
Hey, man.
That's what. I feel like that word just embodies who you are, bro. Like,
I'm humbled just to try to, you know, I'm humbled by, you know, what people see and they see. You know, it's a struggle for me, just like everybody else. You know, although
right.
People see. You know, it might look like commitment. You know, it might look like a lot of hard work, but it's still struggle too.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
So. I don't, you know, sometimes, you know, people, I don't know. I don't ever like to leave people thinking that I'm just like got it all together or
right.
Like that.
Absolutely.
Hey, you know, so, but, you know, I choose that, you know, I have a mentality that, you know, I can live my life. I can move things out the way that don't matter. You know, one of the books I'm reading is called Essentialism. It's all about focusing on only what's essential, you know.
Okay, like minimalism kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, although life has its struggles, you know, I'm not going to take on a victim mindset. I'm going to just focus on what needs to be done.
Definitely. Do you feel like, and you can share whatever you feel comfortable, but like when you talk about struggle, like, is the struggle more of like, just like, I feel like for me, like if I worked from home, I would maybe struggle with like connections. I love talking to people, but I don't know what that struggle, like, you know, if it's something like with working remotely or just kind of just the, you know, how life can get, but Yeah.
Well, I think
somebody else out there might be struggling with something similar or something. You know?
Oh yeah. I actually, it took a little bit for me to get comfortable in my own space. Many people can't be in their own space.
Yeah.
Now I enjoy it. I can read a book, or I can, like I said, go play golf. Go do whatever. I think my biggest struggle is with parenting. I got 2 boys. They look at me every day and they think so highly of me. So everything I do is under a microscope. I could just be what I made for dinner. Like, Dad, this burger was terrible. It's like, you know what? I got to be a better cook.
Right. And then you have that good example of what your dad did. So it's like trying to, meet that and measure that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then teach them a lesson and, really make them, as complete as they can be based upon, bad things we've all grown up with, various types of things. It's like you want to try to keep your kids out of that. So when I say it's been a struggle, I think about the adjustments I made personally to raise my kids the way that, in a way, not only that, I can honor who I say I want to be as a man, but that, they can go on and model their lives, or at least certain traits that they got from their dad, so.
That's dope, because at the end of the day, it's just like we're not really taught to how to be a parent. We just witness it and we really just copied the formula that our parents did, or what we've seen. Like, we don't, nobody goes to school for like parenting. So that, like you said, like that can be detrimental, because imagine if the parenting style you've seen was not healthy.
Absolutely.
You just repeat it, and then it's like,
we got to be the ones to be like, all right, we got to stop these patterns, and we got to, and then I just enjoy, sitting down, talking with my kids and things like that. They keep you honest, for sure.
Yeah,
because they I empower my children to use their voice even when they talking to me. So they'll tell me.
So it's kind of like they'll get too smart and be trying to be like how artificial intelligence they're trying to outsmart us.
Man. But man, it's been a blessing to be able to share all my experiences here on your podcast.
Definitely, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show and just being open and honest about life and sharing all the knowledge about tech and whatnot. I feel like a lot of the viewers learned something. I learned something about you. I didn't even know that, like you say, you went to Maze and whatnot. I didn't know you golfed. Like, that's why I love doing these things, man. I learn new things about people, and just like interviewing people that I'm inspired by and I feel like I'm curious about. And I'm definitely inspired, like what you and Cassandra have, bro. Like, I did not know you guys were married that long, bro. Like, one day I hope to be able to be married that long, man. So big ups to you and your wife, man. Like, you guys holding it down, man. And then the kids and being there for them, and it's just a beautiful thing. We don't get to see that, Like, we don't get to see that sometimes, man. And so I think you're inspiring people just with that, like, with people seeing you, that representation. Like, people are like, man, like. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we all want. We want family. We want connection. That's the highest value, I think. Connection.
Yes,
and so, bro, you're doing your thing.
Hey, appreciate you.
You're doing the thing.
Appreciate
you. Just got to figure out this Green Bay stuff. That's.
Oh, yeah. Hey, man, I know it's a lot of Dallas fans out there.
Yeah, it is what it is,
They had a poor exit last year.
I think you guys are a good team, but that's just my
We got J Love now, so,
There we go. You ready for the next season?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to try to take my kids out to see a game, So.
There we go, man. All right, guys, so we're going to sign off. This has been the Fully Connected Podcast. Make sure you guys go to protechwichita.com, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you guys need any services, we're actually, after the podcast, and we're going to look at the house and figure out this, about this whole video camera installation system.
Yes, sir.
Figure out some other stuff, too, because I don't even know why I didn't hit you up when that computer messed up, man. I was like, dang. But now, like, you're going to have to give me a stack of them cards, too.
Oh, yeah.
But definitely, we're going to sign off, guys. It's been real. Like, share, and subscribe to the pod, all right? So we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Fully Connected.